I believe we're going to have our podium moved because our next group is a panel. So I'll invite them up while I give a few more housekeeping tips. Our next group is from Alexion. Matt Hay is going to bring up his group, and they'll be introducing themselves as they get started. So I want to say thank you. I apologize that the captions have been a little off or on. Technology is always frustrating. We appreciate your patience as we work with our team to make sure that those are up as needed. Another reminder to ask questions in the app and look for any polls that may be in there from the speakers. And then I think we are ready. Yes, Cesar, Elizabeth, yes, come on up. All right. Perfect. And we're going to get rid of this podium, I believe. Perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our last panel discussion of the day, More Than Medicine, What Pharma Means for NF. My name is Renie Moss, and I'm the mother of 2 children with NF, and my husband also has NF. I know a number of you in the room. It's very emotional to see your faces after so long. It's just wonderful to be together. Thank you so much for this opportunity. From Alexion, I get the pleasure of moderating this session with 3 people that I'm very excited for you to meet, and the roles that they play with Alexion, and it's very, very unique and different. And so I really think you're going to enjoy hearing from them. So we have Matt Hay, Cesar Melgoza, and Elizabeth Gory. Why don't y'all just start with your titles, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what these titles actually mean for the patient community. Matt?
Sure. Thanks, Renie. My name is Matt Hay, and I'm here really in 2 capacities. One, I was diagnosed with NF2 in 1997. So I think I probably have an experience similar to maybe what you or some of your loved ones have gone through in the highs and lows of NF. I'm also the U.S. Director of Advocacy for Alexion. And as Renie mentioned, we'll get into a little bit more detail of what the heck that even means.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Gory, and I am the strategy lead for our patient services team. Again, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that, what that means, but that means my job is to find out how can we all help you along this journey.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Cesar Melgoza. Very nice to be here, and thank you for welcoming us. So I am the lead of patient engagement in the U.S. for Alexion, and it's just a real privilege to be here today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Like I said, those are some pretty heady titles, and we're going to break that down a little bit for you all in the next section. But before we do, Matt, let's just kind of start with the basics. You're a member of Alexion, AstraZeneca Rare Disease NF1 team. Tell us a little bit about Alexion and help us understand how Alexion became a part of AstraZeneca.
Sure. So when we initially talked about this, just to kind of pull back the curtain, the goal was really to answer a lot of the questions that I had when I was sitting on that side of the table. And the first one of those is, I don't know about you, but until 6 months ago, I'd heard of AstraZeneca, but didn't really give them much thought, and I certainly had never heard of Alexion. So thought we'd lead it off by telling you what those companies even are. So a couple of years ago, AstraZeneca had medication approved for NF. AstraZeneca is a very large company and very successful at launching a lot of different drugs, but that's different than rare disease. Rare disease, just we all know, it operates a little bit differently. Now, there's nothing rare about rare disease when it happens to you, but from a business standpoint, it operates differently. So what AstraZeneca did is looked at the marketplace and said, how do we work with this drug that we have? And the decision ultimately was to acquire Alexion, and that happened 1 year ago today. And Alexion's business, they've been around 30 years, so it's, and in 30 years, their business has been focusing on rare disease. They're just experts at rare disease. So when AstraZeneca acquired Alexion, they said, we also have this NF opportunity. We want you to take that on. So from my perspective and learning that, I thought, I think that's really good news for this community, because I also really like people that are, and things that are self-aware. And I think there's some wonderful self-awareness of saying we're really big, but this is something we're not good at. So let's partner with someone that is. That answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting here thinking about my first NF conference or patient summit was 2013, and just how far we've come. I mean, really, truly, to sit here that we have, pharmaceutical companies here sitting at the table with us is really phenomenal. Try not to get emotional about that. So Matt, now that we know a little bit about Alexion, tell us why we're here today.
So again, kind of answering a question that I wanted to know is, what do you guys do? Like, okay, great, there's medicine out there, but what does that mean for me? So that we titled this More Than Medicine because I don't really do a whole lot with medicine. I mean, when I say not a whole lot, I don't really do anything with it. I have really, really smart people that can focus on that. My role and our role here, and what we wanted to share is, this is what the patient-focused side of the business looks like. I did not know how few people in the medical and medicine community actually are legally allowed to talk to patients. I had no idea. So the reason the three of us are here is each of our teams is specialized in talking to patients. We're really the group that is allowed to do that. So that why not have all of us come and tell you kind of what we do, what you can expect from our teams, and how, if you choose, can get more involved in working with us or in some capacity, whether it's advocating more or just being more involved in some of the decisions that we make. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go.
That's good. So challenges. There's a lot of challenges of living with NF. So why don't we get into that a little bit? Cesar, you've worked a lot with rare disease during your career at Alexion. What are some of the biggest challenges that are faced by the rare disease communities in the field?
Well, I think one of the things that is great when it exists is an organization like CTF, like the Children's Tumor Foundation, because those types of organizations provide such critical education that's needed at all points of the patient journey. But many rare diseases don't have organizations like that. And what you end up seeing in those conditions is there's a lot of questions about the disease and the treatment, right? And also, how do we get it covered? And then just how do we live with a condition? How do I explain to a sibling, for example, what it's like to live with whatever the rare disease is? So those are some of the challenges that I think are common across rare diseases. And they're acute when you don't have community and a strong organization, both at the national and local level to help.
Thank you. That's dead on. So Matt, coming back to you for a second, you have a unique perspective because you live with NF too, but you're also now leading the NF patient advocacy team for Alexion. So as someone living with NF, what do you personally think are some of the biggest challenges faced by this community and by families living with NF?
Boy,
It's a big one, I know.
I could
I know.
probably take the full hour we have here talking about that. I'll probably first start by answering that. When I talk to internally, when I'm a meeting, you guys probably live on Zoom to a degree. Same for us. And when I lead a meeting, I will swap out my sterile fake background of like the white apartment complex that looks like I live in a really nice place. I will swap that out with the person I think about all the time. And it's an image of a mom laying in bed at night, and you can only see the glow of her face from her phone as she kind of doom scrolls, because so I know that we're not all NF moms, but what that represents, and like the fear, the isolation, the unknown, I want everybody at Alexion thinking about that person or people like that in every single decision that we make. And there's just a huge challenge, and particularly, in a rare disease community where there's not a history of a bunch of different medications. Where do I go? I was diagnosed in '99. I had Netscape Navigator, and I could, when Google came out, I could search NF, and I got one hit. It told me I was going to live until I was 32. And then you quickly shut. I didn't even have a laptop. You quickly turn off the monitor. And so being able to provide a reliable source of information, a place where I can go and find out what's current, what's useful, what is actionable, what really impacts me. So I think that is, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to follow up each of these with, and great, here's the fix to that. This is just more of the challenges that I think about all the time, and you guys probably think about all the time. The other is awareness. It's crazy to think outside of this room, we represent probably some of the most aware people in the NF community. And so creating that awareness is always going to be a challenge, and the world just gets more fragmented all the time. So how do we find a way to create that awareness? For me, I would hear a lot about like physical health. Okay, so there's this trial or there's this medication, but it's kind of in the dark when it comes to what kind of mental help can I get? What kind of emotional help can I get? I've been really lucky to have a loving family and friends. And when I got my diagnosis, nobody I knew, I had people saying, what can I do? How can I help? And they're like, I appreciate you saying that, but there's literally nothing you can do. You can't even spell the thing that I have. How can you be there to support me? No, I didn't say that. I said, no, I'm fine. But what can we do to provide that sort of mental and emotional help? And not just for the patient, but for the caregiver too. Going back to that mom or that dad or the loved one that is caring for somebody with NF. So I think that's huge. Sorry, I'm going way too long here. But,
No.
and going back to the what more can I do aspect, that is why it's pretty surreal for me to be sitting here talking to you guys right now, because after 20 years of what can I do, the script has got to then flip for me, where I now get to be a part of a team who is asking you guys, what more can we do? And that's very exciting to me every day, that when you've got somebody saying, what can I do? And somebody else saying, what can I do? That know NF. So now it's just going to be, how do we work together to answer those questions?
I think the thing I might add to that is that even though we have Matt's expertise on our team, we have a lot of people also on the team that are really eager to learn from all of you. And many of us have maybe started this process sometime in the fall or even later, and we're all very eager to learn, how can we best support you? What are the challenges that you're facing on the journey? And what are the things that we can do within the guide rails of the program that we have, but how can we best support you? And we'll really be looking either through discussions with all of you, meeting you at events like this, talking to patients and caregivers in different places to be open-minded and to get your insights.
So I'm glad she mentioned that, because when I onboarded for this role at the beginning of the year, if you guys have ever started a new job, you know the drill. You get your email and your phone and insurance, and you go through all of that stuff. It started at 9 o'clock, and I got an invite for a meeting from Elizabeth at 8:30. So technically 30 minutes before I started, and it was her calling and saying, "I can't wait to know more about this." And I thought, that's kind of weird. But I hope I can convey just how meaningful this is. To me, I can't believe the commitment I have seen. I had super high expectations, and I was ready to come in and be like, work harder, like you don't care enough. Not that dramatic. It's very exciting to me to see just how committed and the level of commitment. I mean, all of us here and the teams that we represent exist only to ease the burden that exists within the NF community. There's not an ROI on what we do. It is, what can we do to meaningfully engage with you guys and support you? I feel like our logo should be a Sherpa, but nobody agrees. I'm not giving up on that one.
I love the imagery, Matt, by the way. It's great. Also love the word, well, I hate and love the word doom scrolling. I think to use that really is true. I don't know about some of the people in the audience, but I literally have chunks of time missing from around 2010, 2011, where I was just in such shock and fear that you're right. I mean, it wasn't Netscape for me by then. I wish it had been, because there was a lot of scary stuff that I read, and I had a lot of inaccurate information that fed my fear. And feeling very, very alone. It took me 1.5 years before I met a family with NF like me. And those of you that know me know I'm a mouth from the South. I got to talk. Let's go. And I didn't have that for 1.5 years. So what you're talking about is really, really meaningful. And again, something that didn't exist back then. So thank you all ahead of that. So Matt, what is the support that people in the audience can expect from a company like Alexion?
So
what does that support look like?
Yeah, right. Well, the first way I think of that is you've got this big company, and great, we're here to support you. And then CTF is this national advocacy group, and they're great. They're here to support you, both wonderfully and well-intentioned. But I mean, I came to these and thought the social side is fun. I get to meet people that I haven't seen, and that's nice, and I learn a little bit. But I was also pretty selfish. I mean, I came here with the primary function of, what can you do to help me? I mean, I want everybody else to be helped, but this is the only place where I could go over the years to find out, what can I do? Who can I meet that can help me? And so what we really are trying to do with that in mind is, instead of taking this large advocacy group and this large pharmaceutical company that are both working, how can we make that about you? So we'll get in now a little bit more to the details of what each of our roles does, and exactly how that is intended to help a human being like you specifically, not even in theory, but like practically. So there's 3 groups, and we love acronyms. I have a list of acronyms to refer back to. So I'm going to try to stay away from those. My role is patient advocacy. And so my primary function is to partner with large regional and national advocacy groups. And I've had the pleasure of being able to do that with a number of you in the room. The only difference is now they pay me to do it, which is great. But I've had the opportunity to do that and so ensure that we have a healthy relationship, and one built on trust, with the advocacy groups. Because again, in rare disease, if those relationships don't exist, how in the world are you ever going to get them? Where do you go? Where do we go? How do we ever connect? So my job is really focusing on that. Elizabeth, her team is, the brand is called One Source. I think it's more of patient services. How can we serve you with all the really annoying stuff that gets frustrated? I'm sure you've been through this, of insurance calls, and you call somebody, and the next week you call and that person doesn't answer the phone, and they don't have records. I mean, I'm pretty sure, right, Azime had a frustrating call with insurance where you go through over and over again. So that's just one part of what she does. And then Cesar's role is leading the patient education team. These are people that literally will come to you when you have your NF diagnosis and you're in that sort of tornado of information and fear. His team is somebody that can come to see you. Now, he's not, this team's not Santa Claus. So the idea of getting around to every single person that might have this, we'll have to work those details out. But the goal is to meet as many of you face to face when the need arises. I don't do what they do, so I want, if we get there, to turn it over to them to have, for them to have the opportunity to explain in more detail the kind of support you as a person can specifically expect.
Perfect segue into Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what is OneSource? Maybe some people in the room may know what OneSource is. I'm familiar with it, but probably most aren't. So tell us a little bit about OneSource is and your role.
Has anybody heard of OneSource? Well, I see a hand in the back. Okay, good. At least one person has. OneSource is the team at Alexion that really supports patients that are taking our medications. And we have a team of people, they're called PANs, they're patient access navigators, and they're led by a woman named Kristen who's here. I'm gonna have them stand up real quickly and just wave and say who they are. But Kristen is our lead, and then Whitney and Sonia are here as well. They are two of the four people that we have to support you, and their role is really to focus in a few areas. One is education. They do disease state education or product education on Alexion products. They'll help with navigate the insurance part of the journey. If anybody has gone through that journey, you know that that can be arduous. It can take a lot of time, and we have the resources to potentially help shorten that period and help shorten the financial burden. We have different programs like a copay program that can help patients make the drugs more affordable. And then lastly, they are able to link new patients and caregivers to different resources in the community. If you think of maybe how long it could have possibly taken you to get connected to Children's Tumor Foundation, if we work with HCPs to make them aware of OneSource, and then we can help those patients and caregivers get connected to places like CTF even more quickly to get them connected to the resources that they have.
Okay, Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you to translate some medical lingo.
Sure,
Usually
yes.
HCP.
Oh,
What is an
HCP, sorry, healthcare practitioner,
Okay.
doctors, your nurses, physician assistants, all of those people. Part of what we like to do is try to partner with them to make your journey a little simpler. Did I use any others?
I think that's it. You
Okay,
translated
good.
PAN.
Sorry
I
if
like
I
the
did.
word navigator, by the way. I think that's just
Navigator.
a perfect word for kind of charting a course and trying to figure out, because everybody's journey is different. I hate that word journey. I'm sorry I used it. But it is, it's arduous. I know you all know that. So thank you, Elizabeth. All right, Cesar, you're up. So we heard from Matt, we heard from Elizabeth, and so now we want to hear from you about your patient education team. I know you're building it as you speak it, kind of building as you fly. So it'll launch before the end of the year. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what the patient education team does. Help us understand the difference between what you and Elizabeth do.
Sure, absolutely. So if you're on Alexion therapy, the patient access navigators, that's going to be your team. But if you've been diagnosed with NF1 and you want to understand a little bit more about what Alexion has in terms of educational materials and support for NF1, the community, the patient education team, the patient education managers are there to be able to be that point of contact. They have education on the disease state, they have education on treatment options, obviously, for NF1-PN. And then in addition to that, they also have comprehensive education about the different support programs that Alexion provides. And then they can, of course, direct you in different directions based on your needs. The other thing that the patient education managers are going to do that's very important is they're going to be able to meet in person with the community because that's critically important, right? And besides sharing information, they're also going to be for us a source of knowledge. We're going to learn from you in terms of how we can continue to improve and then make sure that the education that we're creating right? It's education that makes sense, right? That's accessible, and that it's actually meeting a critical need.
So what I'm hearing, and I think, well, on behalf of everybody, it sounds like it's going to be a living, breathing document because things are constantly evolving in terms of what that educational language needs to be. So it's kind of a two-way street in terms of developing that.
It has to be. It has to be. We're learning, right? And for us, there's colleagues here that obviously have been learning for a lot longer, but when the patient education managers come, right, they're going to be learning from you. And that's really the approach that we want to take and continue to improve all the time.
Thank you.
And I just add on to that, I think I'm guessing that a lot of you kind of share my experience of the DNF journey is rarely linear. You know, it's sort of like in the Sunday paper, Family Circus, and the kid would go visit everybody and see the dotted line of all the different places that he went. And I think that's representative of my experience. And I was never comfortable with where in this process I call this office or this hospital or this doctor. So these teams exist in an effort to give you a real person, giving you the right information at the right time. And that's a whole lot harder than it sounds, because all of our journeys are unique. And we also, I read a quote a couple of weeks ago. It said, a healthy person wishes for 1,000 things and a sick person wishes for one. And so I really identified with that because I just wanted to focus on my health. I did not want to be on the phone with, I don't hear well enough to use the phone. My wife did not want to be on the phone with insurance trying to figure out who's the right person right now. So these roles exist to be the Sherpa. See?
We are the Sherpa.
To help carry that load for you so you can focus on the one thing you care about when you do feel sick.
And I would say it's more important for us to know how to distinguish between our two roles because there's some regulatory guidance that is in place to support both of us. We'll help you navigate our two roles. It's not on you to figure out, like, am I supposed to call the PAN for this or the PEM for this? If you're working with us, it's not something that you have to worry about. We'll worry about it. We'll take care of you. And if we don't have an answer for you, we're going to work really hard to figure out who does and get that answer to you.
Great. Wonderful. So we kind of talked about these three teams. I'm coming back to you, Matt, and yours is patient advocacy, and how they can partner with national organizations like Children's Tumor Foundation here. So what does that look like to you, and sort of how do these three teams fit together in your mind? Kind of bring it together for us.
Well, if you're asking how they fit together in my mind, that's a little bit different than everybody else because I think about things a little strange sometimes. So I'm deaf without my auditory brainstem implant. And I think one of my coping mechanisms with my hearing loss is I think of things very visually. So these guys explained what they did to me 1,000 times, and I'm sure they did a wonderful job. And I got down and my brain was just searching for, what does that look like on paper? So when I'm not bugging them about the Sherpa thing, I was bugging them about what's just an analogy that I can tell somebody in an elevator to say, this is how these all work together before the doors close, and they can say, okay, I got it. So really, if you think, I think there might be a slide, but if it's not too complicated, so there's not. But you think about they're operating on two tracks. You've got somebody that can help you virtually to answer these insurance questions. You've got that's one track, patient services. You've got somebody else that can help you in person, maybe a little earlier in your journey, and that's another track. And then advocacy, in theory, if I'm doing what I think I need to be doing, is laying the tracks on which those trains run. Because if we don't have that relationship, or we don't have the trust with Children's Tumor Foundation and other advocacy groups, it makes the job really difficult for all of us. Those trains can't run smoothly. They can't run on time in the way that you need them when you want answers now. And so our partnership with CTF is so wonderful because right now those tracks are running very, very well. And I mentioned internally sometimes the only thing holding us up right now is us, because the advocacy groups that you guys have working for you, CTF, is so wonderful about what they do that right now my job's easy because those tracks are there. It's really not easy at all, but I want you to think that it's easy. Because we have a very, when I say we, I mean the NF community, not we as Alexion. We're very fortunate, and I've gotten more exposure to other nonprofits over the last 9 months than I have in the last 20 years. And we are very, very lucky. Nothing ever happens fast enough, right? I wanted medicine 20 years ago, so I didn't have to have that last brain surgery. It never happens fast enough. But we're very fortunate to have organizations like CTF and some of the other national and regional organizations fighting on our behalf. So that doesn't have anything to do with Lexion. It was just, I came to my mind and I thought it's something I wanted to share with you, at least if you don't have that exposure, because I didn't for a long time. I just wanted to take this second, since I've got the microphone and you have to listen to what I'm saying right now, to know how fortunate we are to have the Children's Tumor Foundation doing what they do.
Kind of like laying that first track to come into your station, if you're talking about,
Yep.
just to keep the visual imagery going a little bit, because I'm a visual learner too. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about what each of you do in your teams and the challenges that the NF community faces that they're readily going to be sharing with you, I'm sure. Make sure you go by and visit and have candid conversations with them at their booth. Let's talk about the future a little bit. So Cesar, one of the topics we mentioned earlier is how pharma partners can work to improve education in the NF community. What are some ways that the audience can expect Alexion and other future pharma partners to support education?
Okay. Can we pause that a second? Is there something on the screen that we need help with?
Okay, we can pause.
What's that?
We back?
Are we
Is it back working? Great, thank you for letting us know that. Very important.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So do I need to repeat it, or did you
No,
remember?
no, no.
Okay,
I
great.
think I'm good. So when we think about how organizations like Alexion and others can best partner with CTF, with the community, I think one of the ways is to make sure that we're providing direct communication, whether it's by phone, Zoom, or in person. So making sure that we have the resources to be able to provide education in the way that it's best needed at the individual level. I think the other thing that we can do as well is we can create opportunities for community, right? So we can provide support to have educational events where different people come together to learn about the disease and the resources and the treatment options, et cetera, but also to build community, because we know that's very, very important. And I think that the other thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that as individual organizations, we set the example for other organizations to learn from you, right? To come and listen and make sure that we're capturing your feedback and actually taking action on it, so that the resources that are coming to you that are educational in nature reflect your perspectives, your opinions, your recommendations, your needs.
Thank you. So let's flip it, Matt, and kind of go back to kind of those of us in the audience and what more can we do? What can the people in the audience do to make the most of this new partnership?
So I don't want to be presumptuous here. If anybody here asked or thought, what can I do? What more can I be doing? This isn't rhetorical. Like, I would love that feedback, because I spend a lot of time thinking that. So one of our goals is, because we are always asking that question, we want to hear that from you. We want to hear, what more would you like to see? Where do you feel like there are gaps in the support that you're getting? Our teams exist to fill those. We can't be everything to everybody, but we certainly can't fill those gaps if you don't let us know. So these teams all exist to do that. We want that feedback. In terms of what, as you each individually, what you can do, not even like in theory as a group, but like literally what you can do today. The first step I would tell people is to come to events like the NF Summit, so the people in this room are already a step ahead of a lot of other folks out there. Being here, and the reasons that I came to them for so long is, and have continued to come to them, you're getting some of the world's foremost experts gathered in a very short amount of time. You're getting to hear and then afterwards engage with those people that are speaking. You don't have to fly to LA to talk to this professor. You don't have to fly to Mass General to talk to this physician. They're all gathering, many of them are gathering here. So my first piece of advice would be to come here. If you have friends that aren't here and you walk away with a good experience, let them know, hey, next year, here are all the reasons why you might want to consider coming. The second is use us as a megaphone. You know, if it's not, hey, here's something I'm not doing, or here's a gap that you see, maybe it's something that's being done, but you think can be done better. I view Alexion as my megaphone. You know, I had ideas of what I thought the NF community needed after 20 years of building relationships with many of you actually sitting in the room right now. And I feel like they gave me a megaphone of saying, all right, you've been doing this advocacy stuff, but here, we can spread that to a much larger audience. So use us as a resource to do that. We can be your megaphone. There are some and I'm super excited about this, because when it was first suggested, I didn't know we could even do it. We have developed what we call an ambassador program. And at our booth, this is the first time, this is sort of the official announcement of an ambassador program for NF. So if you have a story that you want to share, if you just want people to know what you're going through, if they want to share something that happened, whether it's one anecdote or your life story or somewhere in between, we have a program in place for you to be able to share that. And then we can work with you about where that might get used, where we might share your story, where you're comfortable having it shared or not shared. So the booth that you'll see right outside, we have somebody there that if you choose to do so, and there's absolutely no pressure to do this, that we can work together to have your story be told.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
One of the things that we do with those team of people that volunteers is sometimes they actually even come into the company and talk to the company at large to help keep the company patient focused. And I say I've been in pharmaceutical industry for 30 years, and I started at a company that very much talked the talk about being patient focused, but Alexion is the first company in those 30 years that I've worked with that actually walks that walk, where everybody is very patient focused. So what we'll do is bring these volunteers in to speak at regular meetings throughout the year. And even though maybe I'm working on NF1PN, somebody will come in, patients and caregivers will come in and speak to us about other products as well. And it really just helps to reset everybody. Because you get going in your day and things get crazy and you're Zooming and dog's barking, you're trying to do laundry and dishes at the same time, and life kind of gets in the way. And then just those moments really help to bring everybody back. So in addition to getting to tell your story, you're really helping us stay focused on what we already agree is the most important thing.
I had this memory pop in of like early on in our family's diagnosis. About 2 years afterwards, I went to a reception. I'm at UAB, and there were people there that all work up on, I would say, the 5th, 6th, 7th floor in the genetics building. You never see them. They're in the labs, the wet labs, the dry labs, et cetera, up there. And he walked up and he said, "Are you a physician?" I said, "Oh no, I'm a mom." I'm sorry, what? I said, "I'm a patient. I'm a mother of a patient." And he like put his cup down. He said, "I've never met a patient in 10 years working on NF. I've only worked with zebrafish." It blew my mind, y'all. I think, how have you not seen it? And so after that, I sent Christmas cards with our picture of our family, and I'd write on the back, "We're counting on you. Stick this on your cabinet. So on your darkest days, you see the face, like you said, of your background," or something like that, because there are a lot of people working in the background that necessarily, and they need to see you. It's not, they just don't have that lens necessarily. It's our job to break that lens open a little bit and make them think more broadly. Just my 2 cents. The other thing I'll say is that I was at an ophthalmology appointment just day before yesterday with our son, and there was a new ophthalmology fellow, and she was asking a lot of questions as we were getting our retinal scans and everything like that. And she goes, "Wow, you really know a lot." And I said, "Well, I have to." And that's why we call ourselves mom collegists, dad collegists, parent collegists, whatever you want to call it. But we don't have a choice. We do have to, right? So I know we're kind of coming to the end of our time, but it's a two-way street. And I know we're feeding information to you all as you build these teams. And I had a very different opinion of pharma based on my previous experiences. To be honest, I probably need to go back and cleanse some social media from around 2012, 13, because I was really angry in some of the experiences I had. But I'm trusting this process more in terms of this, because I would just say if you don't have this process, you would fail with the rare disease community. You have to approach it differently. And I think I've learned a lot in kind of meeting you all today, and I hope our audience has too. Are there any parting thoughts, maybe kind of before we go and we send you out to the lion's den at your table to receive questions? Want to go first?
Well, I think to your point about being engaged and coming to these events, we live in a time now where patients are increasingly placed in the center of the decision-making process, more so than ever before. So the need for information, right? The need that you have for information is sky high. And at the same time, there's access challenges, of course, right? So being informed and tapping all the different resources that are out there is critical. And I would just say it's all of us, right? As individuals, as patients, think that that's what we have to do. And right now is a great moment for us here because we have a lot of different groups coming together. And let's make this journey better each and every day.
I would just reiterate something that Matt said about our job is really to help reduce your overall burden. And he really does start all of his meetings with that doom scrolling photo of the person. So much so that when he wasn't at a meeting, I used that graphic for myself. I'm like, Matt, this is Matt's image, but it helps keep us focused. And our team is really set up to have one-on-one conversations with all of you. You would be calling into the same person each time, and that person's going to know your story. You don't have to go through that process of repeating yourself. Like, we're there to support people on their journey, and really excited to do so. So thank you so much for trusting us.
And just one more example of kind of wanting to give you guys that voice. And I credit our marketing team for this idea was we're going to be coming up with some webinars and some additional sort of patient-focused information, and we have one meeting about what those subjects should be. And it sort of occurred to everybody on that meeting, like, who are we to decide what you need to know? So we tabled the conversation and brought 5 fish bowls. So when you go to our table and you see those bowls, those are there to give you guys the opportunity to vote or choose what kind of information you want to see or learn more about. So it's an opportunity for you to tell us what we need to be doing to better serve you. So please take advantage of that. Please tell us what to do. Because if you don't, we're going to decide. And nobody knows better than you. Which is an unintentional transition to my last kind of closing thought is the irony, and I've mentioned this to some folks before, of being in advocacy is sometimes I'm not very good about advocating for myself. I can be a little bit of a people pleaser, and if pushing for something I want or need, if I feel like that's inconveniencing someone else, I'll back away. And but when it comes to advocating for my family, I will tear you apart. And I know many of you in the room are the same way. If you're not, so if you are, keep it up. If you are not, no one is ever going to know or care about you or your loved ones in the way that you do. So I think one of the great things, if I can accomplish in advocacy, would be not just advocating for other people, but helping you understand how you can better advocate for yourself. It's the whole teach somebody to fish versus give them a fish thing. But if you're ever thinking, am I pushing this a little too far? You are not. If you've been frustrated with that insurance conversation or that physician's office who didn't call back, or they didn't link to the MRI that they mentioned they linked to, be loud. I mean, you can be polite, but be loud and be persistent. No one is ever going to advocate better for us than we are. Yes, we have these systems in place to help you do that, but own that, man. And I walked in, I had some other notes, but the session that ended just before us, his last slide, I walked in and thought, that dude stole my thunder. Because his last slide, he listed, keep learning, raise your hand, tell your story, build relationships, make your voice heard, and participate. Well, that's a bullet point list that could have summarized everything that we just said. But I love that. I'm going to read it again because you don't need to make notes that are on there, but think about these. Keep learning, raise your hand. That's about self-advocacy. Raising your hand is self-advocacy. Keep your hand up. Be the guy that like waves a hand. Building relationships. You guys are doing that now. This is a start. Make your voice heard. We're giving you just one of 1,000 opportunities to do that. And participate. You know, being involved in these, not just as an attendee, but as a participant. So I'm going to leave you that. I know I kind of swerved back and forth between NF, Matt, and Alexia on that. I haven't quite figured out where one stops and the other starts either, so I appreciate you bearing with me. That's the last I had. Anything else you guys want to add to that? No.
One more thing. I'm sorry. It was wonderful. And I
No,
didn't mean to steal your
please. We
thunder.
are so
but-
lucky to have
No.
Renie doing this. I mean, she's a pro. So
No.
thank you.
No, you.
and
Oh, you.
Add whatever you'd like.
I don't know whether some of you are new to the NF world, or maybe this is your first NF summit. And I just remember, you know, people, I was, like Matt said, I was afraid to speak up. I felt like everybody else had more swag on, had the shirt, had the whole blue-green thing going, had some tattoos even. I mean, they've been doing this a while, and I felt very scared to speak up. And I would say, if you're in that boat, please speak up, because your experience is going to be very different than ours, depending on what year you came into this. So please engage. Come talk to any of us. Some of us are kind of long into the tooth with Children's Tumor Foundation. You can tell we have a little gray hair. We talk real loud. Find us downstairs in the lobby later on. Those kinds of things. We're very welcoming. But do go speak to these friendly faces and speak your experience. Whether you've been involved in this for 1 year, 5 years, 20, 30, 40 years, whether you're a patient, a caregiver, a relative, whatever the circumstance is, share your story. It's important. So thank you all to our panel. And to everybody for being such active listeners today. And that's
If anybody has any specific questions, we will have the table staffed. So it gives you an opportunity to talk to somebody one-on-one in a more private setting. Please feel welcome to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, they're not going to be taking questions now, but please visit their table. They're happy to talk to you. This concludes our first educational session for the NF Summit. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Please be sure to come back around 6:30. We'll be doing some networking right in this same area. We'll have some drinks, get to know each other. It should be a lot of fun. And make sure you're checking your app, because we're talking to you a lot and sending you lots of announcements in there, so you don't want to miss them. Thanks, everybody.